My name is Philip Harrelson. I'd like to welcome you back again to the Barnabas Study. And I am spending the afternoon. It's Monday afternoon. It's kind of a gray, dreary day here in Dothan, Alabama. I'm looking out the window of my Barnabas Study and got a lot of positive things flowing in here today. I'm thinking about Brother Harrell. Brother Harrell passed away this past Friday night. His funeral is going to be coming up on February the 13th, which will be next Monday there in Bridge City. But I will be at that part. But prior to that, I thought, Brother Harrell, I've written blog articles about him, and just since his daughter Johnette called me Thursday and told me he was not well, and then called me Friday night and told me he had passed away. My mind has been on Brother Harrell a lot, and got my journal and wrote down just a lot of stuff and various things. I talked to him in one about the Pilgrim's Progress. Talked in another video was about the books on preaching that Brother Harrell had kind of opened me up to, and so now I'm going to talk to you about another author, and I won't say was his favorite author, because I think probably Spurgeon was maybe the one that and he never told me that it was his favorite, nor did he tell me that this author was his favorite. But this is a book that Brother Harrell gave to me. In fact, he gave me I've got seven of these, and then there are 4 more over here. This is by Clarence McCartney, and all of these were books that Brother Harrell gave to me. Clarence McCartney, their books are so old. The Man Who Forgot Other Sermons from Bible Characters. You Can Conquer, Clarence McCartney. The Woman of Tekoa, Clarence McCartney. I can't read the spine is Ancient Wives and Modern Husbands. Salute Thy Soul. And More Sermons from Life. Brother Harrell, this one, Reverend John Harrell, he wrote the date in this one, 5/16/73. Let's see, he didn't write the date in that one. Didn't write the date in that one. I didn't write the date in that one. But this one is stamped with that, kind of like the notary library of J.W.H. John W. Harrell. And so, property of John W. Harrell. I did write in the front of this one, this was a gift from Brother Harrell for 2010. And so, Brother Harrell give me a number, but give me Clarence McCartney, and I've got several more copies up there that he gave to me. Those are of Clovis Chappelle. But this one right here, The Making of a Minister, I didn't talk about that one when I was talking about preaching. But Brother Harrell, this one right here, The Making of a Minister, talks about his kind of philosophy of ministry and about preaching with notes, preaching without notes, how to construct sermons, various things. But the reason, I guess, I want to mix apart, I had a phone call with Brother Harrell, and it would have been probably 4 years ago. It was shortly after COVID. I was, Brother Davidson, our district superintendent, had asked me to go and check on something in one of our area churches, and so I was on the way to where I was going. And Alabama still has a number of areas. It's a lot of rural farm sort of deals, and so Brother Harrell and I were on the phone, And I think back now, this is probably the longest conversation on the phone that Brother Harrell talked to me for well over an hour. And as I was driving through that rural area, I kind of got out of cell coverage, and so I pulled over into a little small Baptist church, country Baptist church. I can still tell you the spot right now where I was at. And he started talking about some men, and he mentioned David Fuller, he mentioned Mark Hughes, and he mentioned Dennis Clark. And he talked about how that the four of them would kind of collaborate with their preaching. Now again, you have to realize this was in the days before. This would have been probably late 80s, maybe early 90s, I'm guessing. We didn't have cell phones. There was no internet. I think America Online come out in 92, 93 maybe, and you remember you had the old dial-up deal. You couldn't communicate with that, and we thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But if we were to have to revert back to America Online, we'd probably all have massive coronaries. But anyways, he got to talking to me about them, and he did say that there was occasional times where he would go hunt with Brother Fuller. And in my mind, whenever I was first started first sermon I preached was in '89. To me, the premier Pentecostal preacher, and this may say something about me, but it was David Fuller. I love to hear Brother Fuller preach, and his stuff is hard to come by now. And but his Because of the Times messages. And then there was a little workshop that Brother Urshan, I say workshop, it was a conference that Brother Urshan, Brother N.A. Urshan, our general superintendent, during that long tenure that he had, would set up these evangelist seminars. And I can remember the cassettes that I would get from those deals. One of them was down in Pasadena at Brother Glass's. Master Key of Prayer, Born and Bred in the Briar Patch. Sermons like that Spiritual Eclipse. I haven't heard that sermon in, is preached probably that's when I was still in high school. So it was in 82, 83. I graduated in 84, but I was still in high school when that sermon was preached. If you can track it down and find it, I hadn't listened to it in years, but I remember it was a profound message. But what I found out later was that Brother Harrell, Brother Fuller, Brother Hughes, Brother Clark, they all kind of worked together. And I remember Brother Clark preaching a message at TBC. My junior year, maybe it was the Christmas banquet. And he preached a message called God's Greatest Gift. And that message was about a preacher. But that day, whenever Brother Harrell got me on the phone, he started talking to me about those days whenever he was younger. And again, he told me, he said, you're talking, on a dial-up phone. You're confined, I guess, to your house. Can't remember we had cordless phones back then or not. But it was there that Brother Harrell said that the four of them, that they bounce things off of each other. And I guess that was the first time where I'd kind of really, I'd always kind of felt guilty. If you're putting together sermons that ought to be it's you and the Lord, and you're on your knees and you're reading your books and you're working, obviously there's a part in that. However, I have since come to realize I have a very close friend, Wayne Naylor in Danville, Kentucky. And Brother Naylor and I frequently spend a lot of time talking scripture, preaching, sermons, outflows, characters, books, those sorts of things. And some of the sermons that, of course, Brother Fuller was probably the one that was on the conference circuit the most. But Brother Hughes, Brother Clark, and Brother Harrell, in fact, I recognize some of the titles that Brother Harrell preached that were some of the same titles that Brother Fuller would preach. And he just talked about a collaborative work on putting sermons together. And that's where he said that, he told me, he said, you need to be able to talk to guys that may not necessarily see it the same way that you see it. But what they do is, he said, in the conversation and in the back and forth between it, he said sparks fly. And he said when sparks start flying, he said flames are kindled. And he said what happens is that they're talking to you, puts you in a mindset or a direction that causes you maybe to go down a path that you probably would not have normally gone down into if you were able to just sit down and you're working with a legal pad and so forth. But he did. He talked about the connection that he had with those four men, and about how that they really got very close during that period of time. And I think it's pretty obvious, again, if you have access to Brother Harrell's CDs, cassette tapes. I may do a little bartering if I can to try to find some of the cassettes that I don't have access to. And maybe that'll happen. But I again, one of the reasons I'm doing it, I want to preserve some of the instructions that Brother Harrell gave to me personally, just talking about preaching during that period of time. And so again, I think it's very important that you have godly friends. And I know, I get it. I've served in our district. I've held a district office practically since I graduated from Bible college. So I can't say don't. I get it. Okay, if you're in a district, you need to be involved and do your part. At the same time, keep this in mind, that those positions are not, if they define who you are, you put a lid on your own growth. And I've tried to keep that in mind. And one of the things, too, that Brother Harrell mentioned was Brother Pugh, that there were periodic conversations that Brother Harrell would have with Brother J.T. Pugh. And obviously, Brother Pugh, of course, he's been passed on for several years. That's another part that I kind of lament, is the fact that we lose connection with some of these old elders. And just the impact. These were a different cut of men. And so anyway, so Brother Harrell talking to me about the collaborative effect, about just kind of working together with those guys and putting sermons together. Another thing that he told me was that he said that he would kind of let, and I made this term up, he didn't say this, but the crock pot effect is what I call it, is that you put a sermon to work in your mind and you kind of let it stew and you think about it and you work it, instead of it just being something that you grab and you just go with. And Brother Harrell told me this. He said that every Sunday night, whenever he would leave the church there in Bridge City, he would go upstairs, and he said he'd stay in his upstairs study, and I'll tell you, his upstairs study was knock your socks off awesome. And just the books, and when you walked in there, you knew this is a place where some serious work goes on. And then he also had a study at home. He told me about that as well, although obviously much smaller. But what he would do, he told me that he would go home on a Sunday, or get up after church on that Sunday night, and he would go up there, and he would start just maybe some of the things that he had jotted down and written down, kind of just take a quick glance at them, or he would take a book and he would look at that book, or even scripture, and kind of start getting a beat or a direction for Wednesday night. And then he said that after Wednesday night Bible study was over, he'd go back upstairs, he'd replicate that same process. He would do it again and again and again, so that whenever Sunday got there, he's not trying to pull off a Saturday night special. That is not a gun. Saturday night specials, whenever preachers have somewhat spent their weeks trying to figure out what they're going to preach on Saturday night. And he said that he would look and he would work through again the process Wednesday night. Okay, what are we going to do Sunday? What's the Lord putting in my heart and putting in my spirit? The other thing that he told me too was that books that he purchased, that what he would do was he would always take a look at the contents that was there for every one of those books, and he said he'd read through it 4 or 5 times, just reading through the table of contents, and try to get that locked into his mind, so that if at a future point, again, remember, Brother Harrell was preaching in days where there is no internet. Our younger bunch, I tell my kids I graduated from high school without Google, and they don't appreciate that too much. But anyways, Brother Harrell became the preacher that he became without Google. And so these men relied on their books. And again, this one right here, this Clarence McCartney book, You Can Conquer. Here are the chapter titles: fear, hate, temptation, loneliness, wounds of the heart, your sorrow, discouragement, the mind, the body, your trouble, your surroundings, your past, and death. And he said that by working with those biographies, he said then what you would do, not biographies, but working with a table of contents, he said that you would be able to go back and retrieve and pull some of those things off. I also remembered that he told me one time, he said that whenever, I think the pastor's name was Brother Thornton over in Lake Charles, he said as a young man, I tell you what, I'm going to save that one for the next time. I've been here for going on about 16 minutes or so. I'll pick up with that next one, because I want to blend that one with another one. And so anyways, thank you for stopping by, and maybe you're getting some inspiration. Brother Harrell's going to keep on preaching. I'm just telling you, he's going to keep on preaching. He may have retired, he may have passed on to his reward, but Brother Harrell's going to keep on preaching, because old preachers never die, and great sermons never die. And so stop back in, and we'll keep this thing going. Lord bless you.